You are a chemist, not just any chemist, one with doctorates, several scientific publications, a name cited in articles that few understand but many respect. Your laboratory holds international certifications, impeccable microscopes, glassware arranged with millimetric obsession. You know how to turn formulas into results. You know how to transform theory into matter. You work for a pharmaceutical company. You develop compounds that could treat rare diseases. At least that's what the contract says. Your colleagues admire you. Your bosses consider you indispensable. Your students write to you asking for advice. You say you only love science. That's what you always repeat. Chemistry is neither good nor bad. It just is. Like that one time, a clinical trial failed. A contaminated batch. 3 patients hospitalized. The company needed a quick explanation. You were not directly responsible. But you reviewed the data. You knew where the error had been. An external supplier. A minimal oversight. An omission in a protocol. In the internal conference, you spoke with surgical precision. You explained that the statistical probability was low. That the compound was still promising. That no system is infallible. The board believed you. The project continued. The patients recovered. No one died. That led you to think that science, when well controlled, does no harm. One night you leave the lab late. The parking lot is almost empty. A man waits leaning on your car. Dark suit, too elegant for that industrial zone. He doesn't seem lost. He says your name before you ask who he is. He speaks calmly. He says he admires your work, that he has followed your research on advanced organic synthesis, that you need an environment with fewer ethical restrictions. He smiles when he says that word, ethics. He offers to finance your own projects. No committees, no bureaucratic limits, no delays for approvals, only results. You laugh. You think it's an absurd joke. He doesn't laugh. He shows you a tablet, photos of you entering and leaving the lab, bank records, your home address, nothing illegal, just detailed, too detailed. He tells you that you don't have to answer now. He hands you a card without a name, only a number. You keep the card in your pocket like someone keeping a useless receipt. You try to forget it. You can't. 2 weeks later, the pharmaceutical project is cancelled. Budget cuts, nervous investors. They tell you that maybe in a year they will resume the research. A year without your own lab. A year under supervision. A year filing data. That night you look at the card. You don't analyze it morally. You analyze it strategically. How dangerous could it be? You call. They summon you to a discreet building. Not abandoned, not luxurious, neutral. Inside there is new laboratory equipment, more modern than yours. The man from the parking lot waits for you. Now he is not alone. There are others. No one says names. They explain the project to you. They don't talk about drugs. They don't talk about weapons. They talk about product, a synthetic compound in high demand. They need someone who understands what it does. Someone like you. You say it's illegal. They don't deny anything. They only say illegality is a variable category, that laws change. They offer you a figure. More than you would earn in 5 years at the pharmaceutical company. They offer you autonomy, unlimited equipment. You think about the card you kept. You think about your cancelled project. You think about everything you could research if you had real resources. You take a deep breath. You accept with conditions. Total control of the lab. No violence inside the space. No weapons near your tables. They smile. As if they know those conditions are irrelevant. The next day you no longer work for the pharmaceutical company. No one suspects anything. You say you received a private offer. Better salary. Better future. Your family celebrates with you. Your mother says she knew something big was coming. You don't lie. You only omit details. The new lab is impeccable. You establish protocols. You train personnel. Bright young people who don't ask questions, or who learned not to ask. You start synthesizing the compound. At first you do it as a technical exercise. It's an intellectual challenge. You get excited. The first batch exceeds 98% purity. They congratulate you. They pay you in cash and transfers. Precise. The money arrives on time. 2 on time. You begin to travel. You supervise laboratories, different cities, ventilated subways, hotels where you never completely unpack your suitcase. You become the standard. Your formula is replicated. Your method is distributed. Your name doesn't appear anywhere. But everyone knows that the product has improved since you arrived. In a private meeting, you hear something you didn't expect. A distributor comments that the new batch is so pure that clients feel it stronger. They laugh. They talk about record sales. They talk about expansion. They don't mention consequences. That night you don't sleep easy. You search news about cases related to synthetic substances, overdoses, hospitalizations, alarmist headlines. You can't confirm it's your compound, but you know it could be. You tell yourself that if you didn't do it, someone else would do it worse. You convince yourself you reduce harm. Devil's chemist, one of the operators jokes. You laugh, it doesn't bother you. At home, you notice small changes. Your partner asks why you can't talk about what you do. You say you signed confidentiality clauses. It's true. Your brother asks you to explain what you're researching now. You change the subject. It always works. For now. One day a technician makes a mistake, mixes incorrect proportions. The reaction becomes unstable. Controlled explosion, but explosion nonetheless. One man is injured, not seriously, but visibly. The superiors ask how much the delay will cost. They don't ask about the injured. You do. They tell you he is being treated. That business cannot stop for minor accidents. You keep staring at the stainless steel table. You remember when you defended strict protocols at the pharmaceutical company. You remember when they talked about patients. Here they talk about clients. It's different. But not that much. The armed men outside the laboratory become routine. That's what troubles you the most, that you get used to it. One night, while adjusting a reaction, one of the bosses enters. He watches you work. He says you are an artist, that you turn dust into gold, that thanks to you the organization has grown. Then he adds something else. They need to diversify. Create a more potent version, more addictive, more profitable. He hands you a dossier with specifications. You know it's chemically possible. You also know it will increase risks. You say so. He replies without changing the tone. The demand already exists. If we don't do it, the competition will. He looks at you fixedly. Choose wisely, because now you know too much. But you can know even more if you subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. The silence is heavy. You realize you are no longer a guest. You are a central piece. And central pieces are not removed without consequences. You breathe, and you begin to calculate proportions. You begin to calculate proportions, not because you want to, because you know how, because your mind works that way. Moles, critical temperatures, stability curves. The new compound requires fine-tuning in the molecular chain, an additional functional group, a slight modification that increases bioavailability. In simple terms, it hits harder, it lasts longer, and creates dependence faster. You know even before tests confirm it. The lab works silently, more watched than ever. Now they are in the hallway. No one comments on the change, no need. You establish stricter protocols. You try to convince yourself that if you're going to do it, at least you'll do it with precision. No contaminants, no errors, no explosions. The first experimental batch is small. You analyze it 3 times. Impeccable purity, acceptable thermal stability, elevated physiological risk. You note it like it's just another formula. The boss enters that same night. He doesn't touch anything, just observes. When you confirm it works, he smiles. That smile that never reaches the eyes. He talks about international expansion. He talks about new markets. He talks about figures that double the previous ones. He gives you an immediate bonus, a transfer that makes your phone vibrate. You don't look at the amount. That night you call home. Your partner tells you they almost don't recognize you when you speak, that you sound distant, tired. You reply that it's stress, complex project, nothing more. Your brother sends you an article by message, an alarming headline about a new synthetic substance causing hospitalizations. They describe it as more potent than any previous variant. You close the link without opening it. You don't need to read it. You know too much. Orders increase. The lab operates almost non-stop. You start delegating more. You no longer supervise every reaction. You trust your protocols. You trust your method. You tell yourself that makes you less responsible. At dawn, you receive an internal call. One of the distributors had a problem. A batch was seized. The police talk about a new, extremely dangerous formula. Your formula. The boss summons you to a private meeting. He doesn't seem angry. He seems calculating. He says the pressure will increase, that they need to reduce traces, change routes. slightly modify the chemical structure to mislead forensic analysis. You realize something unsettling. You are no longer just a chemist. You are a shield. You are adaptation. You are strategy. Without you, the product would be vulnerable. You know every possible variation. You know how to evade spectrometries, how to alter chemical signatures without affecting potency. He asks you for a new version, harder to trace, more profitable. You remain silent for a few seconds longer than usual. He tilts his head. Are you worried about something? He asks. You think about the news you didn't open. You think about patients on stretchers, about families reading headlines, about your mother saying that you cure diseases. You respond with the only thing you can. I will need more time to ensure stability. He nods. You will have time, but not too much. That night you don't sleep. It's not guilt. It's calculation. Your mind reviews every variable. You know you could introduce a small error, a subtle instability, something that reduces potency, that makes the compound less harmful. You could do it without them noticing. But you also know they would eventually find out, and when they do, they will ask why. And when they ask, there will be no formulas to protect you. The next morning you visit the main laboratory before anyone else. You observe the aligned jars, the clean shine of the glass, the perfect order. You remember your old pharmaceutical lab. You remember the initial pride. You realize you still love chemistry. What you hate is the use. One of the technicians arrives early. He looks at you with respect. He says he wants to be like you. That thanks to your method, he learned more in months than in years at university. He asks you how you decide what is right in science. You keep looking at him longer than necessary. You respond with something automatic. Science doesn't decide what is right. It only describes what is possible. He nods as if it were a brilliant phrase. You feel it is a confession. In the following days you develop the new variant, more stable against analyses, harder to trace, not more potent. You stand firm on that. The boss reviews the results. He asks about the intensity. You say stability improved, but increasing potency would compromise consistency. It's not a lie, just not the whole truth. He watches you for a long time. He trusts you. That is the problem. He trusts you. Weeks pass. The news continues. Raids, hospitals overcrowded. A special report shows a young man talking about how an overly pure substance ruined his life in months. You turn off the television. You don't ask if it was yours. It no longer matters. One night you find something unexpected. A file on your computer. You didn't create it. It contains detailed production records, transfers, routes, names, everything that could destroy the organization. You don't know who put it there. Maybe the boss. Maybe someone else. Maybe a test. You stare at the screen for minutes. Your heart beats strongly. It is an exit, or a trap. If you hand over that information, you could negotiate immunity, protection, maybe recover your previous life. If you try and fail, there will be no lab to hide you. You close the file. You don't delete it. Not yet. The next day, the boss calls you to his private office. Not the lab, his office. That is never a good sign. He offers you a drink. You refuse. He smiles. He says you have been invaluable. That soon the organization will expand to another continent. That they will need a central laboratory. Led by you. Bigger, more influential, more profitable. He offers you a direct share in the profits. Not just a salary, partner. The word floats in the air. Partner means something deeper, more permanent. You realize this is the real decision. Not the parking lot one. Not the first batch one. You accept and your path is sealed. You refuse and the sentence doesn't end. It doesn't need to. You think about the hidden file. You think about your family. About the technician who wants to be like you. About the young man in the report. About the first time you mixed substances out of pure scientific curiosity. You breathe. For the first time in a long time, you don't calculate. You don't analyze performance. You don't project profits. You just choose. You say you need time. The boss watches you. Then he slowly nods. You have 48 hours. You leave the building with the weight of all the formulas accumulated in your mind. That night you return to the empty laboratory. You sit in front of the computer. You open the file again. You copy it to an external device. You look at it as if it were an unstable substance. It is. A single wrong move and everything explodes. You receive a message on your phone. An unknown number. Just one phrase. We know you saw it. Your stomach tightens. You don't know if they are talking about the file or about you. You look around. The cameras, the hallways, the silence. You realize something simple and brutal. You were never the brain. You were never the boss. They thought you were replaceable, but they never understood that you were the only one who knew all the variables. You step outside. The cold air hits your face. Inside the building, alarms go off too late. Servers melt down. Supplies get contaminated. Data self-destructs. The organization that took decades to build disintegrates in minutes, without gunfire, without chases, without heroes. Just science applied with surgical precision. You stop on the sidewalk. You take out the device one last time. The screen shows a single word. Completed. There is no turning back, no rescue possible, no structure left to rebuild. You were the catalyst, and also the final reagent. The phone stops vibrating forever. The network is dead. They are too. And you are no longer the chemist of a criminal organization. You are the man who extinguished it.